take 5 on recent reflections of the emotional wave. I am Dr. Kate Flynn. Welcome back to my channel. I may just be at emotional neutrality in a way that I want to share these things with you. We'll see. Time will tell. So these are my most recent reflections on having emotional authority, the emotional wave. 3740 is the one that governs my design, and I have unconscious access to it. It's a lot of fun finding that out and saying, oh yeah, that makes sense. So these are reflections. If you want to see what a real life implosion of the 3740 wave looks like, I'll link that up here. So it's taken me a minute to really have the clarity on what I want to share and how I want to share it. And that really is the nature of the emotional game. And I'm learning to be okay with it. Like there's no longer this sense of urgency that you have to respond, you have to get it out. I'm going to do something, see what I respond to. Maybe it's a video. I'm going to watch that video back, see how it lands, feel how it lands, and then decide, is that correct? Do I want to put it out there, or do I want to wait? Is something else going to come forth? And I'm really feeling that or interpreting that as a leveling up in my deconditioning, because I'm starting to experience it with more sweetness, with more freedom, with it's okay to wait. Something even better than what I was anticipating could come out of that waiting. And that is a completely different experience for me, for sure. So with that sweetness, any kind of fear of missing out or sense of lack, or if I don't act and take this opportunity right now, it's going to be awful, nothing better than this is going to arise, all that is starting to dissipate. And I'm opening more to that sense that indeed something better could be coming forth. And if I act rashly, if I act in the moment and I accept what's in front of me and I respond to it, then I'm going to miss out on that future thing that is coming to me. So it's all about, for me, like getting my mind on board. However I can get my mind to surrender, to say, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's just wait this out and see what happens. Then I'm calling that a win for sure. What I'm noticing too is that singular things that used to initiate major waves before the start of my experiment and since, they just don't anymore, which is really nice to just see things as they happen and be like, okay, accept and surrender and move on. I'm especially noticing that in relation to my husband. Before we learned about human design, if he's not emotional, he's not tribal, I would think if he wasn't responding in the same way that I was, then he didn't love me, or, crazy things like that would arise out of seemingly inconsequential non-events, and I would withdraw and I would be riding this wave for like 2 or 3 days, and it was just miserable for everybody. And now, to give you an example, the other night of something that would have initiated a wave that didn't, I wanted popcorn. I don't usually eat popcorn at night, but he makes it pretty frequently, especially if we're watching videos or movies or whatever after dinner. And I asked him, are you going to make popcorn? Because he usually makes it. We don't have a microwave. He does it on the stovetop. And he said, yeah. And then I had made dinner. We eat differently. We eat on different schedules, and it's totally cool. And I said, oh, you haven't eaten. Are you going to eat dinner? This is what I made. And he was like, yeah, I am going to eat that. And then after that, of course, he didn't want to make the popcorn. So here I am observing, seeing this unfold real time and thinking, is that going to be something that initiates a wave? He doesn't want to make popcorn. What are you, like 5? You can't go into the kitchen and make your own popcorn? So I never made it on the stovetop before in this way. So I went in the kitchen, I did it. I asked him to talk me through it. It's like super easy. I know if you make popcorn all the time, you're like, oh my word, what is her issue? But I did it, and I even shared the popcorn, and it was delicious. And it's so freeing to have these things happen and not be these major events anymore. Like him not wanting to make me popcorn does not mean that he doesn't love me. So that's pretty cool. things that happen all at once, like we are navigating a major move across the country, we are dealing with water outages in our neighborhood, different things have been going on. Those are still wild rides to navigate when the things happen all at once. It's like, what are you going to do? Just jump on the roller coaster and ride it out, and eventually things will start to resolve and pass. What I am noticing, though, that even though these things initiate a wave and I'm in frustration, the frustration is just not nearly as deep as it used to be. Like, it's so much more superficial. When I used to ride this wave, my roots of frustration went all the way to the center of the earth, I swear to goodness. And it was just like, ah. And now, even though I'm frustrated and even though I'm riding these waves, it feels like just kind of silly. Like I can almost laugh at myself throughout the process. It doesn't mean I'm not in the middle of the wave, because I am. Ask, anyone that's around me. But I can also see it for what it is and just kind of laugh like, yeah, this sucks and there's nothing you can do about it. And you just got to wait for the wave to settle and pass. Now, things that are exciting opportunities, those definitely still, like the lows aren't as low in the wave, but I would say that the potential, the excitement, the, oh my goodness, this could be amazing, those are still pretty high. And yet still learning to wait and say, I remember, I think it was a Coke Zero commercial years ago where the guy walked around and everywhere he went, they said, oh, this is what you could have. And he would say, and like this anticipation of what else could I have? And I'm starting to come into that flow of, yeah, this seems like it could be pretty amazing, but what if there's something else that's even better? And so I am enjoying that. Now, on waves that kind of get initiated and happen in the background, I have been reflecting on that. Like with no known cause, if I'm feeling maybe a little melancholic or also manic, but for me it happens more that it's a more melancholic feeling. That typically, the connections I'm drawing is that there's some piece of emotional processing that's going on. Maybe pieces have clicked into place, understandings, new awarenesses, and that energy is processing through. And I noticed that as I look back through my history and through my relationship with crochet, because it's kind of like a on again, off again kind of thing. And I'm realizing that when I'm waiting for something to happen to finish, I'll start crocheting and do these major projects, and I'll make like 2 or 3 or 4 tops or whatever they may be all at a time. And then it's like, it's done and it's over. And this energy has opened up for me to move forward in a new way. Because before I would be like, oh my gosh, you're not getting anything done. You're just going to sit there and crochet for hours and hours. And I would judge myself for doing that. And now it's like, yeah, I am going to sit there and crochet for hours and hours. And eventually, whatever's going on in the background is going to take care of itself. And that energy will once again be available for me to move forward. And that's pretty cool. And I get a new top to wear. So it's a win-win. In navigating the emotional wave, or I say I mean my emotional wave, because there are other ones. I'm only here to share experience on mine, which is the 3740. Nature and exercise are so super important. I have all 4 motors, and if I am not moving my body regularly or exercising my mind, getting work done on the computer, taxes, the crochet, whatever it is, there's got to be some movement going on. And when that wave arises, it's like, go take a walk, make it fast, get your heart rate up and that kind of thing. I've recently stopped playing tennis. My body's been telling me for a couple years that, this is just not the best thing for you. There's some piece of my timing that's just not quite there, and it makes those lateral movements and the sudden bursts, I'm just not coordinating them well for whatever reason. And I finally listened to that. And as I was considering, because before we moved to Ecuador, before human design, it was 3 times a week. Like, tennis was my therapy. Those women were my community. And they're like the women you play with. that makes or breaks how you feel about tennis for sure. At least for me, it did anyway. And thinking that stopping, like taking the action to stop playing tennis, was going to be something that initiated a big wave. Thinking about it, I would start to cry and I'd be like, it's such a major part of my identity. Who will I be without that? And then after I did it, after I was in a few different text groups and chats, and after I told all three that I was not playing anymore, I noticed two things. And the first was that all I felt was freedom. I was not sad about not picking up my racket again, like at all. Not at all sad. And the second thing I noticed was I anticipated the reactions of others to be, oh no, don't stop playing, just take a break, or have you tried this? Oh, it's so important to you, keep playing. And there was none of that. Every response that came back was, we understand, you have to do what's right for your body, we will miss you. And it was like, wow. And that also clicked another piece of understanding into place for me. Like when we make decisions that are aligned, that are from our true self, in accordance with our strategy and authority, we do not get questioned. If we are waffling on the inside regarding a decision and we kind of tentatively say, this is what's going on, and we get questioned, that lets us know that we haven't come to that place from an aligned position. And I will do a little side note in here. That's part of an inner boundaries course I created on Insight Timer. So if you're on Insight Timer and you pay for premium, you get access to all these courses. It's an opportunity to really make agreements on the inside with yourself before you even concern yourself with setting boundaries in the outside world. So if that's something that speaks to you, I will put a link in the comments for you to follow. And the last thing I wanted to talk about today was just understanding that routines are not necessarily going to be something I'm going to navigate the way they say you're supposed to. Like in terms of creating content, putting information out there. I think the algorithm was built for non-emotional beings for sure, because if I don't have that response, I can't force myself to sit down and create content and put it out every week at this time. It's just not going to happen. So if you see me kind of disappear for a little while, it's because I'm navigating some things. And when the energy's there and I respond, then I'm going to come back and put content out, and I'm going to feel so much more satisfaction with the content that I do share because I know it's aligned. So I'm really learning to see that the emotional authority is not a roadblock. It is a pathway to clarity and a pathway to experiencing more satisfaction. And what could be better than that, Being satisfied with the life you're creating, loving yourself more, sharing when it's correct for me to respond. I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, all that to say, I'm no longer trying to push myself, force myself to move forward, to fit into what they say we're supposed to do. So if you're here for the journey, then I'll see you whenever I post again. If not, that's okay too. But really, if you are responding to this, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'll see you in the next one.